People in Marlin outraged by a shelter the city uses to take in stray dogs. They say the dogs are living in feces without food or water. 25 News' Joel Lopez went by the shelter. Joel, what did you see?
And I found 3 dogs inside that shelter, and their bowls did look empty and there was waste on the ground. But the city manager tells me they're following protocol.
People in Marlin are outraged after discovering what happens to dogs that are caught running loose in their city.
You know, we do have a lot of strays, but there's been a lot of people that their dogs have just, gotten out on accident.
Because Marlin does not have its own animal shelter, the city recently struck up a deal to take stray dogs to a kill shelter in neighboring town Rosebud.
From a personal standpoint, you have no heart if you will allow that to happen.
Sabrina Cox lives in Marlin and says the Rosebud shelter does nothing to try to locate dogs' owners, and the dogs only have 72 hours before they're put down.
There's been people that have looked for their dogs for a week and a half or longer and finally found them. I'd be devastated. My dogs, I have 3 and they're part of my family.
This week, people visited the Rosebud shelter and took these pictures showing dogs living among feces without food or water.
I want to say, how about you get stuck in that kennel for however long they stayed there and see if you like those conditions.
Rosebud city manager Keith Whitfield didn't want to go on camera, but says the city is following ordinance and says someone feeds and cleans up after the dogs at least once a day. So I went by the shelter to see the conditions myself. I couldn't see any food or water in the bowls, and there was feces on the ground.
And it's not acceptable. I don't care if it's our dogs, Rosebud's dogs. That's not the condition those dogs need to be in.
Cox says Marlin volunteers who are not related to the shelter have been doing what they can to help find homes for dogs who end up at the Rosebud shelter, but says now it's time for the city of Marlin to find a new solution.
Marlin needs to get it together, and they need to come up with a plan and get another contract with one of the shelters that don't kill.
People in Marlin are planning to get together on Monday to brainstorm and find ways to help the dogs at the Rosebud shelter, and they hope city officials can help find a solution. Joel Lopez, 25 News.